In the heart of Melbourne, Australia, there lived a young girl who seemed destined to dance her way into a radiant future. At just 15 years old, Rachel Barber wasn't your ordinary teenager. She commanded the room with striking green eyes and a petite frame that moved with grace well beyond her years. A rising star in the dance world, Rachel's promise extended far beyond the dance factory in Richmond, where she devoted herself to perfecting the craft. To her family, she was a cherished daughter. To her friends, a staunch ally in the fight for social justice. Whether it was participating in climate change protests, advocating for equal rights, or volunteering at the local shelter, Rachel was always front and center. And to her teachers, she was a student with boundless potential. In every sense, Rachel Barber was a beacon of youthful innocence and ambition in a bustling city full of dreams. However, that all changed when Rachel never returned home from dance class on March 1st, 1999. Welcome to Vice Confidential, where today we explore the case of a teenage prodigy whose future was stolen from her. Elizabeth and Mike Barber found themselves stricken with anxiety as they waited for their daughter to return home. This behavior was entirely out of character for Rachel, who seldom broke her routine. She was a teenager, but not one given to acts of rebellion or irresponsibility that could explain her sudden disappearance. As the clock ticked and darkness fell, the sense of dread in the Barber household deepened. In a time when mobile phones were less common, the Barbers frantically reached out to Rachel's friends and acquaintances, seeking any clue about her whereabouts. Their efforts were in vain, prompting Elizabeth and Mike to swiftly report Rachel as a missing person to the authorities. The initial police response was neither immediate nor urgent, as teens run away from home often, only to return a short while after to their worried families. The officers were skeptical of foul play, although Rachel's parents were adamant that their daughter hadn't run away. As hours turned into days without any sign of Rachel, the public perception shifted from dismissive to deeply concerned. It was clear that something wasn't right, and the young girl's disappearance quickly escalated into a major local news story. Devastated but resolute, the Barbers tirelessly campaigned to find their daughter, collaborating with police, organizing community searches, and using the media to increase public awareness. While the days continued to pass and Rachel remained unfound, the police grew their cautionary search into a full-blown investigation. The community became increasingly worried, and they demanded answers. Suddenly, an unexpected figure from Rachel's past began to take center stage. Caroline Reed Robertson, a 21-year-old and trusted member of Rachel Barber's life, emerged as a central character in this harrowing narrative. A few years older than Rachel, she was enigmatic and complex. The Barbers had known Robertson for years. She had babysat their children and was viewed as a family friend. There was a level of trust and familiarity, which made what happened next all the more unexpected. Before we continue, please take a moment to support our channel by liking this video, subscribing, and ringing the bell to receive notifications of all of our newest uploads that cover captivating true crime stories and unexplained disappearances. Now, let's get back to the story. The real turning point came when Robertson disclosed information about Rachel that had not been made public, which instantly drew the attention of the investigators. Although she initially denied any involvement, Robertson later contradicted herself by admitting she had called Rachel the night before the teen vanished. This inconsistency, coupled with her unusual admission, elevated her from a concerned individual to a potential suspect in Rachel's disappearance. The police started to view Robertson as a person of significant interest. They noticed her nervous demeanor during questioning, and how her story changed with each retelling. Soon after, the depths of Robertson's obsession with Rachel became clear when investigators found her scrapbook full of the victim's photos and personal information. This was a pivotal moment in the case, as the person who claimed to be a supportive family friend, the babysitter who had looked after Rachel and her siblings, was now the prime suspect in her disappearance. The evidence, which included a call recording from the night before Rachel's absence, began to pile up, and the spotlight on Caroline Reed Robertson got even brighter. The community, along with Rachel's grief-stricken family, was horrified. Feeling the growing pressure of the investigation closing in, Robertson became uneasy. Slowly but surely, the facade that Caroline Reed Robertson had painstakingly constructed began to crumble. Just then, in a startling turn of events, she confessed to the murder of Rachel Barber. Her confession, delivered with astounding detail, revealed that she strangled the innocent dance prodigy with a phone cord in an attempt to quote-unquote become her. Robertson's deeply disturbed state of mind was now out in the open. The murderer went on to further disclose that she developed an unhealthy, obsessive fixation on Rachel, whom she saw as the embodiment of everything she desired to be. Robertson did not consider herself pure, innocent, or beautiful, and Rachel was the living, breathing symbol of a life she could never attain, due to her deep-rooted self-esteem issues originating from a troubled past. The killer calmly told the police that she had lured Rachel to her apartment by offering pizza and promising to share some psychology meditation secrets. Using the trust between them as an exploit, Robertson then proceeded to end the 15-year-old girl's life with a telephone cord. She painted a picture of herself as tormented, seeing Rachel as the perfect opposite to her own perceived flaws. In her warped perspective, Robertson believed that by killing Rachel, she could assume her identity and thus escape her troubled existence. The gruesome reality of Robertson's actions is a stark and heartbreaking contrast to their close relationship. After the confession, she led police to a remote area on the outskirts of Melbourne, where Rachel's body lay hidden. In a shallow grave, investigators found the remains of the vibrant 15-year-old girl. This grim discovery marked a heart-wrenching conclusion to a search that had gripped all of Australia. Rachel's family, who had clung to the hope that she might still be alive, were confronted with the devastating knowledge that their daughter was murdered by someone near and dear to them. This betrayal only intensified their agony. One of the eeriest aspects of this story is a photo of Rachel that Robertson kept in her apartment after the murder, a haunting and constant reminder of both the life she ended and the fantasy she pursued. The public closely monitored the legal proceedings of this tragic case. Caroline Reed Robertson was charged with Rachel Barber's murder and notably pleaded guilty, thereby avoiding a full criminal trial. Although Robertson's crime was cold and deliberate, she was charged with quote-unquote murder under severe mental impairment, a nod to her mental health struggles, which played a significant role in the defense and sentencing. During the sentencing, the court weighed Robertson's plea, her mental health status, and the horrific nature of the crime. She received a 20-year prison sentence with a non-parole period of 14.5 years. For some, this was a source of relief, seeing justice being served. For others, it was far from enough, considering the enormous loss and pain caused by Robertson. The trial's aftermath left Rachel's family and friends wrestling with grief. Elizabeth Barber recast her pain into advocacy for victims' rights, striving to prevent other families from enduring a similar nightmare. This case ignited broader discussions in Australia about mental health treatment within the legal system and the urgency of preventative care and intervention. The Barbers received extensive support from their community and the country, a testament to how deeply this personal tragedy resonated. It lives on as an important reminder of the devastating consequences caused by untreated mental health issues. In the years following Rachel's death, her story became a focal point in Australia, inspiring books and documentaries that explore the dark motives of Caroline Reed Robertson and celebrate the talented young woman that Rachel was. The movie In Her Skin and a book, Perfect Victim, written by her mother, are some of the most prominent. These adaptations offer contrasting views. The movie portrays Robertson's disturbing obsession, while the book provides an intimate family perspective on loss and the pursuit of justice. Ultimately, the story of Rachel Barber endures as a somber chapter in Australia's cultural memory, underlining the urgent need for proactive, compassionate mental health care to help avert such devastating tragedies in the future. What do you think about this case? Do you agree with the sentencing, or was it another failure of the justice system? Let us know in the comments section below, along with other true crime cases you'd like to see us explore, right here on Vice Confidential. We'll see you on the other side.